right, hello and welcome. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe. It's my pleasure to take you through my show, which is normally on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and it goes till noon Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Adobe. Today we're going to be talking about Adobe Muse CC and the new responsive capabilities that it has. This is a live broadcast, so occasionally you'll see me look over to my chat pod on another display. I'll answer questions, check just to see what's going on, and make sure that the stream is still running good for those that are watching live. So with that said, for those of you who have joined me live, I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are watching the replay, I definitely appreciate that as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the content. I kind of did the intros. We kind of already addressed a lot of people earlier on the chat. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start. There might be a slight audio issue that some people are saying is on the live portion. It may make its way into the replay. I've tried all kinds of troubleshooting, changing mics, the whole 9 yards. Not sure what it is today, but we're going to move past it. All right, so with that said, hey Paul, how's it going? Let's go ahead and switch displays here. And we've got that display up. All right. Okay, so we're here. We're here with the new Adobe Muse CC, which now supports, among other things, responsive design. That is really the big new thing here. And this is probably the most significant update to Muse since its inception. I mean, it's gotten great features along the way. It's got lots of user requests. It was actually rewritten from the ground up along the way. But the one big thing that was kind of just not there in this product that people have been wanting for a long time is the responsive design capabilities. Now, I will start off with a disclaimer. I am not a web developer. I never have been a web developer, but I have to make websites. So whatever that makes me, it makes, it basically says that I'm not professing to be a professional on all things web design. But there are times when I have, like, for example, I have my own website where if there's a budget, I'll pay a professional web developer to do it. And then I have sites for nonprofits and other things that I do that have zero budget. So there's no one to pay to do it. I have to do it myself. And in those cases, my preferred tool to do those sites is Adobe Muse. So we're going to do this broadcast in 2 steps. Since it's early in the morning on the West Coast, I usually start off with some basics first because people usually start coming in about the first or about the second half or the second hour. So we're going to do 2 parts. We're going to do the how the feature works. I'll show you a sample site. I'll show you how to make it responsive. And then we're going to do something that is totally unscripted. We're going to do a conversion of one of my existing sites that I have not converted yet. I converted 1, but I've got 3 that need converting. So we're going to convert the second one after we finish the basics. So that's how we're going to do this. Now, if you're watching the replay, whether you're watching it on twitch.tv /Adobe or you're watching it on my YouTube channel at terrywhite.tv, you will see me do this, where I'm looking over and I'm saying hi to people and I'm responding to their questions, and I will pause occasionally because there are people that are live that are asking questions or making comments that I read through, make sure I haven't missed anything, then I keep going. So if you're watching the replay, you're not seeing those questions and you're like, who's he talking to? And that's who I'm talking to. And I will do my best, if it is a question, to repeat the question since you're not seeing it on the replay. All right, so with that said, let's see what we're doing here. Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. Paul says I'm good. I don't know if I agree on that at all times, but I appreciate it anyway. Jan's there. And okay, I don't see any questions at this point other than how I'm doing. I'm doing okay. And with that said, let's go ahead and... All right, Darkus, is that Gringe or Ginge. Welcome and glad you're here and you're excited to see Muse work. Okay, so let's go see Muse work. So here I am in Adobe Muse CC. This is the latest version as of February 8th, somewhere around there. So only a few days old. This update came out, and as you can see, the top feature here is freeform responsive design. So to kick it off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a page that hasn't been converted to responsive yet. And let me go to my demo files here, and we'll go to Muse, and we'll go to 2016, and we'll go to this one. And we'll open up this page, which has missing links, but that's okay. And we'll see two things. This is so far a single page site, and it has a master page. Now, I would advise you, just like I was doing before Muse was responsive, to put as many repeating elements, in other words, consistent elements that are going to be on your site, on the master page. That saves you a lot of work without not having to put the logo and the social media network icons and the navigation on every single page. So that's what master pages are for. But since that master page is consistent throughout all your pages, it's probably a good idea to start there when you're going to go ahead and make it responsive. Make the master page responsive first, then you deal with the individual pages. We'll talk about creating from scratch in just a second. But actually, there's one thing I do want to point out. Let's say we're going to do one from scratch. You've never done a Muse site, or you're doing a complete redesign. Now, when you say new site, this dialog has been simplified. It's been made a lot easier to work with. It starts off with what are probably the best defaults for Muse. The first one, which is brand new in this update, is now you have a choice between fluid width, which means responsive, or fixed width, which is traditional Muse prior to this update. Before, you didn't have a choice. It was always fixed. So now it already starts off with responsive in mind. Now, if you want more settings, they are still here. You go under Advanced, and you get the other settings that you were used to in Muse, including my favorite, which I wish I could make that to default, high DPI, because any site that I'm creating, I want it to look good on Retina and high DPI Windows displays. So that's what I would do for a new site. I'm going to cancel this. We'll talk more about a new site in a moment, some kind of design concepts you might want to consider, and then we'll go ahead and do what we're about to do now, and we'll also do the conversion. Okay, I see a question here maybe. Can you make the screen full size, please? Which screen would that be? You are looking at it full size. I'm just in a corner. All right, so hopefully you can see what I'm showing. If you do a response. Okay, so a good question Paul's asking. Paul's kind of jumping ahead. He's saying, if I do it responsive on the master page, can I copy those settings over to the regular pages? Yes, Paul, and I'm about to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so I've got the master page open here. I'm going to go ahead and, why is this? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and collapse my layers. And even though I opened up this page and we can see the new breakpoint bar at the top, that doesn't mean that this page or this site has been made responsive yet. Matter of fact, I'll prove that it isn't. When I start pulling this in, nothing happens. Nothing moves. This site is definitely has not been made responsive yet. So when you open up an existing page, you have a couple ways of starting the responsive process for one that you want to convert. This is not the site we're going to convert ultimately, but this page is not responsive, so we need to work on it. First and foremost, in your site settings, site properties, I should say, you do have the option to do fluid width. Great. That means any pages I create in a site will be ready to be fluid, and that's already been done. So that's why the bar is here in the first place. Here's another thing I will point out, that when I first opened this update to Muse, even though I had switched to fluid, this bar wasn't here, and I was freaking out for a second. I'm like, where is it? I know it's there. You might have to show it. So right now it says high breakpoints. So even though this could be a fluid page, the breakpoint bar is not there. And if it's not there, just go up to view and say show breakpoints. Oh, yay, the bar is there. Okay. And of course, that bar will only be there if the page or site is set to be fluid. So viewing it won't do anything if it's a fixed page. All right, let's see here. All right, here's a question right off the bat that I'm sure this question is going to come up more than once. Are we going to see scroll effects and responsive design together in future version of Muse? Well, first of all, we never talk about future versions that haven't been announced. So I can't confirm or deny any features of any Adobe product at any time in my last 20 years here at Adobe that haven't been announced. But it is a concern. It is something that the team is probably thinking about. So what he's asking is that you have a choice now, obviously, to do fixed or fluid. But in fixed design, we have this great feature. We still have this great feature over here called scroll effects. Scroll effects don't work currently on a fluid design or responsive design. So if you want scroll effects, if they're very important to you, then you're going to have to stick with fixed right now. If you want responsive, then you're saying I'm willing to give up the scroll effects for now. Now, that doesn't mean that's not a commitment. That doesn't mean when I say for now that it will ever change. It may change tomorrow. It may change never. So somewhere in between there, something might happen or not. But just know that that is the current limitation with working with fluid design. And the reason that that is a limitation is because with scroll effects, you're designating where on a page something will happen and move. Well, with a fluid design, that all changes because depending on the browser width, that may not be the spot where you picked the scroll effect to happen because they're looking at it on a smaller display. With fixed width, it wasn't a problem. With a fluid display, scroll effects don't have a good way to work right now. That's why it's not implemented currently. It may never be implemented. It may be implemented tomorrow. So it is something that we know about. All right, how's that for the answer? Dun, 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 dun. So only responsive sites are fluid sites, right? If you have a fixed site, it is one size and one size only. Well, yes and no. Fluid sites are responsive. Fixed sites can be multiple layouts that are fixed. So in the past, if you wanted a desktop, tablet, and phone layout, you could make a desktop, tablet, and phone layout that were fixed. So it is not necessarily one or the other. It's one potentially or the other or many others. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Bye-bye scroll effects and fluid today. Yes, correct. All right, question is, and this question also comes up a lot in Muse. If you build a site in Muse, are there any type of content management, I guess just what you mean by CMS, content management options? If that's not what you mean, let me know, that you can integrate. Content management systems are not built into Muse. There are lots of things that aren't built into Muse, but there are lots of third parties that make things for Muse. So currently, and still today, there is no content management system, blog engine, or anything like that for Muse inside. I don't know what third-party options exist because I don't check them out every day. So I would just say go check out, search for content management system for Muse, and that will likely bring up some choices if they exist. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, good question. So someone asked, is it still possible to create a desktop site and mobile dedicated version if you don't need responsive design? Absolutely. That's why when you start the site, there's a choice of fluid or fixed. If you go to fixed, you're back to the way Muse always worked, where you can create a dedicated mobile version, a dedicated tablet version, or a dedicated desktop version, or any mixture of the three. This is just going to turn into a Q&A stream. But anyway, at some point I'll actually get to show something. All right. All right, the questions have stopped for a second. So now let me get back to the content. All right, so with that said, and those were all good questions. That's why I'm laughing, because they're good questions that even people on the replay are probably thinking. So we addressed them right up front and got them out of the way. So that's great. All right, so with the responsive breakpoint bar here, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to tell it that it's fluid width. Now keep in mind, I'm doing that for this specific page, which was fixed before I did this. So that's typically what will happen if you open up an existing page that was fixed, that you did not design from the start as being fluid. Even though you told the site that it can be fluid, you're still going to have to go in and do individual pages, existing pages, and turn them into fluid, because otherwise Muse won't know what you want. It's not going to automatically assume one thing or the other. All right. So good. Okay. So now that I've told it that it can be fluid, well, things do start to happen now. So if I start to pull this in, things start to move, and that's cool. All right, so let's go ahead and now let's make them move in the way that we want them to move. First and foremost, when you click on an object now, once you've told the page that it can be fluid, you get a different pinning option and you get a different resize option. The pinning option, the original 6-pin option is still there, but now you also have a responsive pin option. So I can say responsively pin that logo to the left. I also have a resize option that says make it responsive width and height or stretch to browser width. And in this case, maybe I don't want the logo to size at all. I want the logo to stay that size no matter what. So I just leave it on none. Now, this is a menu, and this menu only has one page because this is only a one-page site so far. So that menu will grow. It will get bigger as more pages, if more pages are added to the site. And I assume more pages will be added to the site. Otherwise, why would you use that menu? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say that that's going to be pinned to the right. This purchase now is going to be pinned to the right responsively, and none of this is resizing so far. Then we've got the footer menu. I'm going to say that that is responsive to the left. And I'm going to say that nothing else happens with the rest of this stuff. This is going to kind of stay where it is. And now, let's spend a second and explain what you're attempting to do with a responsive design. What you're attempting to do is you're saying that I realize that anyone can view this site on any device and any screen. And we've gone way past the simple days of a desktop was X number of pixels wide, and a tablet was 768 wide, and a mobile phone was 320 pixels wide, and life was simple. Well, obviously that is no longer the case, because I have an iPad Pro here that is every bit as wide as a desktop. I have an iPhone 6s Plus, which is 414 pixels wide in portrait and even wider in landscape. So none of that device-specific stuff matters really anymore, because anyone can be looking at this on any device, and you can't possibly know them all. You can't possibly know, okay, click here for this device, click here for this device, click here for this device, because you'd have a million breakpoints. You'd have a million things trying to design for every specific device out there. So forget about that. Don't think about, well, what looks good on a phone? What looks good on a tablet? What looks good on a desktop? Because there's no such thing. It's what looks good for your design, from the widest that you want your design to be to the skinniest that you want your design to be. And know that no matter what device looks at it, it will still look good anywhere in between. That's your aim. That's what you're trying to do. So the reason that this is called a breakpoint bar is you're trying to see what happens when this is viewed on a narrower display when your design breaks. In other words, when my design breaks, I need to do something about it. So what I would do is, I'm not worried about specific pixel sizes. I'm just pulling this in and I'm watching the, I see something going on down there right off the bat. Hang on. I didn't adjust for these social media icons, or maybe I did. Okay, so we're going to keep those responsive on the left. Keep those responsive on the left. And keep that, that's the one. Okay, that one was set to center for some weird reason. Okay, so now, again, I'm pulling this in until I get to a point where my design breaks. And you can start to see it at the bottom. It's not so much at the top right now. The top still looks good. But at the bottom, that stay tuned is about to run into home. And I'm going to keep going because it hasn't happened yet. But right about, oh, I'm starting to run out of room too on the right hand side. So I would say my design is going to break if I go any further than this. That's where it's time to make a decision. That's where it's time to add a breakpoint, because between 1200 pixels and wherever I am now, the design is fine. Any device that's looking at it in between there is fine. But now, if I were to go to a smaller screen than this, whatever this is, the design breaks. And so at that point, I'm going to click this little plus sign right here to create a new breakpoint. And I could care less that it's 815 pixels. I really don't care, because that's whatever device is viewing it at 815 on down needs to be my design needs to be adjusted. So I see lots of things popping in. Hang on, let me see here. See if I missed anything important. Dun, 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 dun. All right. All right, so someone's asking, hey, the way you're operating is just the opposite of mobile first approach. What do you think? I'm coming to that. Yes, I know there's a sound issue. We tried lots of options to fix it. There's nothing I can do about it right now. All right, so let's move on. Okay, next. So at this point, now it's a matter of saying, what do I want to do? And not only what do I want to do to fix this, but I'm going to project a little further and say, okay, this is only going to get smaller. So what kinds of things can I do up front to adjust for it, knowing that it's only going to get smaller from here on out? All right, so right off the bat, I would say that, well, this home thing that I had responsively to the left, I'm going to turn that off for now. And this thing that I had I didn't have responsively anywhere, I'm going to move it down. So I'm going to now start making some decisions based on where things are likely to collide. All right, so now I'm giving myself more room. Those things won't collide anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give myself even more room in the footer. And I'm going to move this box down, or make this box a little bigger. Matter of fact, I'm going to move this text down. And I'm going to move these, I'm going to unpin these things from the left because that's no longer relevant from this breakpoint going forward. And let's go ahead and move these centered. Now, the other thing you might want to think about is those social media icons are likely going to be buttons that people can tap on to go to Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Well, as I get to a smaller size, again, I'm not trying to guess on devices, but I'm going to guess that the smaller sizes are probably mobile devices with touch displays. So maybe at this breakpoint, I not only want to move these things around so they don't collide, but maybe I want to make them bigger so that they're easier to press on with your finger. So I can make any of those decisions while I'm here. Make these bigger, and it will re-render those. Those probably SVG. Put them back in the center, and now I can keep going. That breakpoint's taken care of. So we go back to that breakpoint, it's this. We go to this breakpoint, it's this. And so now we can deselect that. We can keep going. All right. Oh, I see a problem here. Let's go back to this breakpoint, and let's keep this and this now responsibly centered instead of staying where they are. Okay, great. So now we'll go ahead and we'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. Oh, problem. Any more than that, I'm going to start getting outside of my boundary. And so therefore, I might want to put another breakpoint in here for this. And again, it's thinking ahead. Okay, this is only going to get smaller. What do you want to do to correct for this? So I might want to go in and say, let's move this down a bit. Let's make this box even bigger here. Let's move this down. some more. Let's move these down some more, which are looking good. Nice finger-friendly buttons. And now let's decide what we're going to do here. Maybe move that up. And then this is look like it's grouped together, but I can keep clicking to get to each individual piece. And it looks like this is a stay tuned kind of email thing. We can move this around. We want to keep the button nice and big, making it finger friendly, but maybe move this down a bit more, and move that over, and giving myself some more room here. All right. And I know I'm not perfectly aligned center, but you guys are getting an idea. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. All right, let's do this. It's visually distracting. All right, let's do that. And this. All right. And again, I would normally center that, but this is just a test. Okay, so now we would keep going. And I see a problem, not at the bottom anymore, but now I see one at the top. Time to make a decision here. So, and maybe the time to make that decision is even before we get here, because what's going to happen at this point, or maybe the point before this, is that menu that may be now wider if I add more pages is definitely too big for this layout. So I could move some stuff around. I could put the menu under the pre-order now, and I could do all that. And I can go back in the other breakpoints and do that as well. And maybe I will. But the problem is that menu is just going to continue to be a problem at some point. So let's pretend that the menu is that menu, but now we want to change it. So I'm going to say at this point, let's make a new breakpoint. And we're just going to say that menu no longer works for this design going forward, going smaller. So I'm going to pull this orange rectangle down a bit. And I'm going to select that menu. And here's one of my favorite features in the new Muse, is that I no longer want that menu from here on out. Right-click, hide in breakpoint. That means, basically, you can do the same thing in the layers, but that basically means keep it everywhere else, turn it off from here on forward. Awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to create one of those, they nicknamed it hamburger menus that we see on mobile sites from here on out. So I'm just going to build one. First and foremost, let's build a graphic for it. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I'm on the right layer too. We'll go to the nav layer, make sure we put on the nav layer. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and build it. And it's just going to be a rectangle. I can fill that obviously with a color. Let's go ahead and fill it. Actually, let's do it here. Let's fill it with a color. We'll fill it with the lighter color that's being used already in the site. Awesome. And of course, I can pick that up and move it over a bit, actually. Maybe I want it there. And I'm going to zoom in on it so I can see it better. So let's zoom in. And next, I want to just draw the 3 rectangles that represent the hamburger menus that we always see. So that rectangle is going to be there. And we're going to fill that one with a different color. And we'll fill that one back with that orange again. All right, and we'll grab the selection tool. And of course, I can center all this, and I will. But let's go ahead and put it there. We're going to hold down the Option key or Alt key on Windows and duplicate it. And duplicate it again. All right, so now we've got our hamburger menu. I'm going to go ahead and select all 3. Maybe I don't need it to be that wide, or that tall, I mean. All right, so now let's get it all nice and centered up. Select those. Let's go to Align. Let's align the centers, which they were perfectly aligned. Let's distribute the space in between. Oh, wait. I want to align, not distribute. Okay, distribute the space in between. No, we don't want to do that. Undo. I'm doing it the wrong way. There we go. Distribute spacing. Actually, that looks okay. There we go. Leave it the way it is. It looks okay the way it is. All right, so now I'm going to select all of those and group them together. Oh, hang on. Before I do that, one more thing. Whenever you create an object by default in Muse, Muse defaults to resizing that object. And this screwed me up the first time I ever played with this, because what was happening is, as I was making my breakpoint smaller, my menu object started getting smaller and weird too. So let's go ahead and turn off the resizing for that object so that it stays the same size no matter what. All right, now we'll group it together. So we grouped it together as one object, but that's just a graphic. That's not an actual menu. Let's make it into a menu now. For that, we're going to go to the widget library. And in the widget library, we're going to use one of the panel widgets. We'll grab the accordion and we'll just drag over an accordion panel. It's going to be nice and big because we're zoomed in. And let's put it there and let's zoom out. And before you would go in and delete all this sample stuff out, now you can just right click on it and you can say clear all widget contents, get rid of all that stuff, clear all styling, gets rid of everything, which is awesome. And of course, it, for whatever reason, doesn't get rid of that text, but you can delete that one little thing. Now we can go in and resize it, and keep it in mind, the menu is only one item at this point, but I'm just showing you what you would do. All right, so now we would put an actual menu in it, whether you build that menu manually with graphics or text and make links to the pages or anchors, or you go in and you actually use a menu. So if we go to menus, we can say make this a vertical menu, pull it right into the frame. Should have left my frame bigger. Well, let's go ahead and size it down. And hang on a minute, let's move this back over. And for some reason, resizing accordions in Muse can be a little weird. Now, keep it in mind, it's only one menu item, but we're just doing this as an example of what the menu would look like. Now, of course, you could turn off that gray box. You can change the color to anything you want, or have it not be a color. I'm leaving some extra room for more menu items in the future, but there you are. So again, sample menu item, and last but not least, for this accordion widget, I want to turn on can close all. So what that means, the menu can be completely collapsed, which obviously we want. If you want the menu to cover the content, turn this on. If you want the menu to push the content below it down, turn that off. All right, so now we've got our menu, which I'll close or collapse, and we zoom back out to actual size, which I think I did. There we go, actual size. Now that's our new menu that, oh, by the way, one more thing. Crap, I forgot to do it earlier. Hang on. One more thing I forgot to do. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. Go back to this, and I'm going to say hide in other breakpoints. Because whenever you add a new object, you're adding it to the page. So therefore, that hamburger menu would now be in the bigger breakpoints, in the wider breakpoints. Obviously, I don't need it in those breakpoints because it already has a menu. So I forgot to do that with the graphic, and I also need to do it with this accordion panel. So now we'll just right click on it. We'll say hide in other breakpoints. Now it's only in this breakpoint and new breakpoints I create going forward. All right, so let's do, again, go back to our actual size. And here we are. Okay, so now we're good to go. We can keep going. Oh, and one more thing here. Let's responsibly keep that to the right, as well as the graphic. Responsibly keep that to the right. There we go. Okay, so now we can keep going. Keep going. Everything. Oh, no. We're starting to get some colliding going on down there. All right, so maybe we want to do something else with these buttons while we're here. They're not responsibly set to do anything, so let's fix that while we're here. We'll keep them in the center. That'll keep them from hopefully overlapping each other. All right, so now let's keep going. There we go. They're not overlapping each other anymore. And let's go for broke. Let's go all the way down to 320. Oh, we can't. So see, we can't even get to 320 without something happening to the Purchase Now button. So we need another breakpoint because the layout is about to break right here. And although we could cheat, we could jump to 320 and fix it. But then what would happen is if anyone looks at it on a device that's between 582 and 320, they're going to see that overlap. So that's why you want to predict what's going to happen forward or create a breakpoint to solve it. So I could fix it here. I could say that maybe purchase now, maybe it's time for purchase now to be down here. And maybe purchase now stays on the left now instead of the right. So that way I predicted what's going to happen so that if I do go smaller, now it's not a problem. It might be a problem with the, no, it won't be. I was going to say it might be a problem with the accordion, but it's not. But now what starts to happen is another issue. We get to the issue down at the bottom where that white button or that box is too big. So we got to solve that. Maybe right here, we'll go ahead and solve it once and for all. Put another breakpoint in that says, hey, while we're at it, this content should probably be a little skinnier. This content should be a little skinnier. And this we now have to do something with. So let's go ahead and just make that smaller to begin with. All right. And this address bar for the email address also is going to be a problem. Let's just go ahead and make that smaller now. It doesn't need to be that small, but we're going to go smaller yet. So we're predicting the future. So at that point, that breakpoint's been done, and now I can jump down to typically what's going to be the smallest breakpoint for any mobile device, and that is 320. There are very few mobile devices. There are some. You can't predict that. There are some that are smaller than 320, and you can keep going. You go all the way down to 240. You can go all the way down to whatever you need to go down to. But at that point, you're really saying what devices are going to be viewing my site that are smaller than 320 pixels wide. And if you think that's going to be an issue, then continue adding breakpoints. But I'm going to stop at 320. All right, so 320 is what I'm predicting will be the smallest that someone will ever look at my site. And again, if I thought it was more, I'd keep going. But at that point, now I just need to make the adjustments for what's going to happen here, which is some minor adjustments. Maybe I want to move this over a little bit more. It still would work. Even if I didn't move it, we move this, and we got it. Okay, so now the breakpoints have all been added. The content's all been adjusted. We'll test in the browser, but let me look for questions. Lots of questions that came in, so let me go all the way up here. Hamburger menus are so early to 2015. Well, I gave you my disclaimer, D, earlier. All right. People are still talking about the audio, so if you got a suggestion for the audio, let me know. Are there any new form widgets in Muse? None that I know about. The guides I'm adjusting are for the browser width. I'm glad I'm making you want the full CC package or membership. Okay, Erica's asking, does Muse give you a idea of where the breakpoint should be? No, it doesn't. You need to, because the reason it doesn't is it's going to depend on everyone's design. Everyone's going to have different designs. Muse can't know when you should have a breakpoint or when you shouldn't. I guess it could have a collision warning, but it doesn't have that currently. Now, I've added these breakpoints. Let's test it in the browser. So let's go up to my view menu, preview page in browser. And there's my page at the full 1920 of this particular browser. And I'm just going to go ahead now and collapse it down. So you just saw everything respond according to the breakpoints that I have set up. Now I'm going to, Yeah, so like that home, I would need to center that. So I'm just looking at things I would tweak, but you get the idea. When I go down to the smaller menu, that one collapsed or drops down like the accordion's supposed to. But when I'm on this one, the regular menu's there. And the regular menu stays here the whole time because I just didn't change it. But I could go and, like, for example, turn that off in the smaller breakpoints where I don't know that I would need it. So again, this is all your design choices. Okay, so you've got your first exposure to what responsive design looks like in Muse. And it's really about designing so that your site, your page, looks good at all browser widths, from the smallest browser you think you're going to have to the full size displays on desktops. Now, someone asked a question earlier. I said I would address it, and that is, if you Google anything about responsive design, every person, every expert is going to tell you you should design for mobile first. Meaning that if you're designing a new page, instead of going from the widest that the browser would be and trying to design down to the smallest, they're saying design at the smallest that you think it will be and just keep going wider until making design choices as you go. I will tell you my thoughts on that right now. When I first heard it and tried it, I didn't like it, but I'll explain why. I was against it at first. Now I'm not. Now I agree, and I'll explain the difference. If you're taking an existing page, it's easier probably to do it the way I just did it. If you're creating a new page that has nothing on it, then it's way easier to design mobile first. So it just really depends on where you're coming from. So all the experts that say design mobile first aren't saying convert mobile first. They're saying design mobile first. And I didn't think about it that way until I actually started playing with this. So they're right. And here's a good analogy for you, or my analogy for you to think about. Let's take your house, for example. Let's start you off in your parents' house in your bedroom. You had a bed, I'm assuming you had a bed, you had a dresser, you had clothes, you had whatever your situation was. Just picture that. And now you get your older sibling goes off to college, and now you get their room too, and all their stuff's gone. So now it's easier for you to expand to that bigger space rather than take everything that's in two rooms and squish it down to one. So if you think about it from a web design, if I start with mobile and make smart choices on the way everything should look on a mobile device or smallest screen, then I go bigger. Oh, I got plenty of room now. I can move this over here. I can move this up here. I can make this small. I can do whatever. So that's why the experts say it that way, because in fact, it would be easier to design a blank page at the smallest and then grow to a bigger screen because you got more room. Just like if you start off in a small home and you go to a bigger home, you got your stuff that now has way more room to fit in more places. You got more closets, you got more bedrooms, you got a basement, you got a den. You can buy more stuff now and put in that bigger home. So that's why they say mobile first. So the person said, hey, you're doing the opposite of mobile first because I'm converting. And for me, maybe not for you, but for me, converting desktop to mobile is easier than converting and starting at the smallest and trying to make everything fit going backwards. So it just depends on where you're starting from. That makes sense? All right. So Scott and D, great. I agree. So everyone's just chiming in on the whole mobile first versus not, and I haven't seen anything I completely disagree with. So again, it will depend on you. But at first, when I first heard the mobile first, and I was because I wasn't starting from scratch, I was trying to make stuff fit, and I'm like, that would be harder for me. But on a blank page, that would be way easier. All right. So someone's asking, would Adobe Muse be a good tool to use if you make static websites? It would absolutely be a good tool to use if you make static websites. That's what it's really good at. All right, let me check one thing over here. All right, so now that we got that, we got our master page done, we're going to switch over to the regular page because someone asked that question. Hey, now that you made all these breakpoints for the master page, what happens on the regular page? Let me just check one thing here first. Okay, all right. So, okay, master page is done. I'm happy with the, with minus a couple tweaks here and there at the footer, but for the most part, it's done. Now let's close the master because that was only half the battle in converting this existing page. Now we got this existing page, this page that uses that master. So someone asked earlier on, hey, those breakpoints that you're making on the master, do they automatically carry over to the rest of the site? Yes and no. Let me explain it. Let's open up the regular page now, and you'll still see the breakpoint bar, and these triangles represent the breakpoints that I put on the master pages. So if you want to use them, you can. You can click, and that'll make the master page. It'll jump to that master page breakpoint and set it for this page. But I would begin to question: is that what you really need? Because setting that breakpoint here doesn't mean much for the content on this page. So while I can do it, and it's great to know where they are, I don't necessarily know how that helps me for this scooter, for this text, for everything else that's on this page. Because that breakpoint may not have anything to do with this content. It has to do with the master items that are on the footer and on the header. Those get adjusted automatically. So let's make sure, yep, we're in Fluid. And so, for example, if I collapse this page, the header and footer take care of themselves, but everything else may or may not, depending on these breakpoints. So that will, of course, be up to you to decide if those breakpoints are necessary on this page. Maybe you need them. Maybe you don't need as many. Maybe you need different ones for this page. So that's totally up to you. All right, so for example, and here's the problem with a long page like this. I don't know where it's breaking at 100% because as I drag this, I'm only seeing what's at the top. I'm not seeing what's going on down here. So luckily, I believe it was 1 or 2 updates ago, you could, and this is a shortcut, you can double click the hand tool to shrink the entire page so you can see everything that's going on. And double click the magnifying tool to get back to 100%. So either way, I can now go in and I can say, oh, now I can really see what's going on. I can see what's happening. So I can see a lot of those graphics are set to resize, which is cool. So far, so good. Now, here's one thing I will definitely warn you about. This drove me crazy for about 20 minutes. When I get down to a smaller size, everything still looks okay, looks okay, looks okay. The scooter's now starting to run into stuff at the bottom there, and that scooter's starting to run into the text. So maybe around this spot would be a good point for a breakpoint. Whether it's the master breakpoint or not, I don't really care because I'm trying to make this page look good. So at this point, maybe I want a breakpoint right here. So I'll go ahead and add it. And now what I want to decide is, well, what's going to happen to this scooter that's kind of starting to scoot down? Scooter, scoot down, get it? And this one is starting to collide with that text. And maybe this one's starting to collide with that text frame as well. So now it's time to start making some decisions. So I can start at the top and work my way down on what those decisions will be. But one thing I will warn you that drove me crazy for about 20 minutes, as I got smaller, here, I'll go smaller yet. We got that breakpoint to always jump back to. Notice what's happening to the pre-order text down here. Can you guys see it over my head? Yeah, you can. The pre-order text right here, notice that frame is starting to hang off the edges of the page, even though the text isn't. The text is still on the page, but the frame border is hanging off. Well, I had a widget on one of my sites I converted. And the widget, the content of the widget was on the page, but the frame border for the widget was like way off the side. And what was driving me crazy is every time I would look at that page on my phone, the entire page was shrunk down to like the left side. And there was all this blank white space on the right side. And I could not figure out what was causing that. Because when I looked at the page, everything looked fine. If that frame wasn't selected, I didn't see it. And then I finally started clicking on stuff and saw, oh, that's hanging off the edge, shrink it back down, and then the page was fine. So even though the content still appears on the page, especially going smaller, you don't want that border or that frame border hanging off the edge, because Muse is going to accommodate for it and say, oh, well, just in case, I got to leave enough room for this stuff hanging off the edge in case the text is that big. So definitely don't have anything hanging off the edge. It will screw up your site. Okay, so let's jump back to that breakpoint we put in. So it's back here. And now again, just like we did before, you'd start making your decisions on what's going to happen. So as this is the one that was really starting to cause issues. Maybe I make that responsive to the left and move it over some more. Maybe this one's responsive to the right. It is already, so good, it stays there. This one that's starting to hang down. What is this? Responsive to the center. Maybe we move it up a little bit more in this breakpoint. And we say that this one can size down as it gets smaller from here on out. And same thing for this one. Maybe this one can get smaller. So this is now me changing the resize option from none, it stays the same size, to now it's responsive width and height. So as the page gets smaller, or the browser window gets smaller, those graphics will start to resize. I'd probably do it for all of them, but you get, just to give you the point. All right, so now if we again pull this in, so that stuff starts to get smaller and now doesn't collide because it's just getting smaller. We go down here. Okay, now we're at the point where that pre-order now, actually we're past that point. So let's go back to maybe, actually let's just fix it in the regular breakpoint. Let's not add a new breakpoint, let's just fix it. So we're at a point where this pre-order now is starting to cause issues. Well, first of all, the frame is actually extended beyond what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be that wide. So let's just make it smaller to begin with. The other thing is, I can say that I want this to have responsive width. Right now with none, that means it will stay the same size, and again, that frame will just hang off the edge if I get smaller. But if I say that this frame border for this text can be responsive, that means the frame itself will shrink if it needs to. And it may rewrap the text, which I'll make that decision if that's okay or not, as I get smaller. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. And so it's doing that, it's rewrapping the text. And again, that's up to me to decide if I like that rewrap or not, or if I want to make the text smaller, or if I want to make the frame bigger. It's up to me. But at this point, since it's going to resize, I can make that frame bigger because it's going to resize the frame and not hang it off the edge, and that will cause less rewrapping. There we go. So it can get smaller, smaller, smaller before it makes the decision to wrap that text. And if I don't like the text to wrap, what are my options? I can go back a little before it wraps, right here maybe. Or we can even set, since that's so close to a master breakpoint, we'll go ahead and set it. So that's the same as the master page. And I can say here, you know what? If it's going to break, I'll choose where it breaks. Or if it's not going to break, I'll make it smaller. Those are really your only two choices. Adjust the way the text looks or adjust the break yourself. So I can say, pre-order your pigeon scooter. I can say, you know, from here on out, that's returned. And by the way, I just want to point out this important tool that I forgot to point out earlier. You have a toggle over here on the text tool. It toggles between format the text on the current breakpoint or format the text across all breakpoints. So if I change the font, change the size, change how it breaks, whatever, I'm only doing it from this breakpoint forward. If I toggle this, I'm saying do it across all breakpoints. Change the font, change the way it looks across all breakpoints. So it defaults to the thing you probably want most, but you can toggle it anytime you want. And of course, if you change the word, if I say pre-order my pigeon scooter now, it will change it across all breakpoints because that is the same text no matter what. But if I change the font to a smaller font, different size, different weight, different font style, whatever, it only changes it on this breakpoint based on that toggle. All right, so let's keep going. I've made that decision. So far, so good. And we get all the way down. Oh, wait, hang on, we got another problem here. This one's starting to hang off the edge, which we don't want. So let's pin that to the right instead. Okay, now we keep going. I see some other stuff going on down there too that may need to get fixed. I would need to scroll up, check everything else. Everything else looks good. And I don't know what these are. Are these individual graphics? These are individual graphics. Okay, I'm going to show you another cool feature. I'm going to show you, because I think you kind of figured out the rest at this point. Just keep adjusting until it looks good. But let's say you get here, and everything is kind of okay still, even though those are overlapping, they're still visually okay. Everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. But what's not okay is you don't want those pictures to get that small. So from here on out, you have to make a decision on what's going to go on with those pictures. So let's add a breakpoint at this spot. And you say to yourself, well, you know what? Maybe for this layout, as it gets smaller, we don't really need that picture. Hide in breakpoint. I did choose hide in breakpoint, didn't I? There we go. Okay. And maybe we don't need this one either. Hide in breakpoint. And we kind of already got that picture down there below. I don't know, that's kind of relative to size though, but we don't need 2 copies of feet. So this one looks better. Let's hide this one. All right, so now, I did choose that, right? There we go. So now we're down to 4 pictures instead of the, whatever, 6 we had. And of course, now I can move these around. And I can, oh, there's some kind of button over them. That's what I was deleting. Okay. All right, I'm going to just move both of these here. That might be some kind of other effect. I don't know what that is. I'm going to delete it for now because I don't care. The site is not going to need to work anyway. I'm going to go ahead and scale that up. And actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Undo. And let's grab all of these and scale them all at the same time. I can't do it that way. Okay, never mind. I thought I could. I probably could if I do it a different way, but never mind. We'll just do it this way. There's something going on there. Kill it for now. Okay, a little smaller. If I group them together, I could size them as a group. That'd be easier than the hard way I'm doing it now. I realize that. But now I'm invested in this slow way. All right, so now let's do this. There we go. Okay, so let's move this down. That's some other button on top. Oh, what is that? Why is that frame not resizing? Unless there's something else up there. No? I don't know what kind of spacer they're using for that, but yeah, it's not letting me resize it. So I'm just going to put it up there. All right. So what just happened is I decided that in this breakpoint, it's okay to have that many pictures. In this breakpoint, I want fewer pictures that are bigger. So it's just a matter of, and I did that totally the wrong way, didn't I? No, I did it the right way. Okay. All right. The other way, instead of deleting, and I should make this very clear, I was afraid I did it the wrong way because I wasn't thinking at first. The other way is don't delete it. Hide it from the breakpoint. So I should not have deleted those two pictures. I should have chosen hide in this breakpoint and then move the other ones around. Because deleting means delete it off the page, delete it everywhere. So it's very easy to think, oh, I don't want this, delete it, but think of the repercussions on the other breakpoints. So hide and breakpoint is a lot better than deleting. I'm not even sure why that mistake still worked out because other times I've done delete, it actually deletes it and therefore deletes it everywhere. All right, so again, we keep going. Till we get to a point, we get down to our 320 point, and we got a lot of adjustments to make. All right. Oh, hang on, I didn't make it. That's a bug, actually. Hang on. 524. Let's add a breakpoint at 320. There we go. Okay, so now I see some collisions. I see some problems with text. Let me go ahead and fix these problems. And again, I cheated. You would normally fix these along the way because any breakpoint in between, these could be messed up. And see, this is just looking weird that small. So let's just move it down and move this over. And even though I said scale it responsively, that doesn't mean I can't make it bigger in this breakpoint if that makes sense. So every breakpoint, the design of the objects can be changed. Was that up there? I can't remember if that was up there or not. I have to go back and look. But there we are. Let's go back here. And what I would do here is, again, make sure that I fix any problems that would occur between here and 320. So there are some problems that are occurring that I need to address at either make another breakpoint or adjust them here before we get to that problem. So same thing here. Let's make this is already responsive width. Great. Let's make it a little smaller. Let's pull this down. Again, trying to predict issues before they happen. Let's just go ahead and make this a little smaller. Let's move this over. Oh, that's bad type. Look at that. It's beautiful. So in that case, we want to just maybe make that headline a little smaller. Or all the headlines the same size, obviously. All right, so now if we, again, start to go, we can see what's going to mess up or what's going to collide. And in this case, it's not even what's colliding, it's just bad typography in this case. So maybe, again, at this breakpoint, I need to decide what's going to happen to this frame. Maybe that frame is just too skinny, and maybe it's time to have it go this way. Because we've already adjusted it for the mobile first. Now we're adjusting it as we go backwards. For the smallest size, I should say. All right, so that's 320 on up. Okay, let me look at questions. Okay, we got a question about text at the top. I'm going to scroll back and just look real quick, make sure I don't miss anything else before that. So, a question: did I make the sample page? It's really cool. I can't take credit for this. I did not make it. I'm not even sure who made it. Danny might have made it. Danny's the product manager for Muse. Terry, can you duplicate canvases and size them so you can see what's going to happen in the same window? You can't duplicate, well, I'm just trying to think of the best practice for that. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, you can go up to and choose a new window. Um, yeah, no. There's not really a good way to do that. You can do a preview and have that window open at the same time side by side. But beyond just those two, I don't think so. All right, cool. Glad you like the double clicking of the magnifying glass. Come to New York and teach a hands-on class too. I would love to, but I don't have anyone that's gonna do that, make that happen. What happens when you have various different breakpoints on each page, but you want the essentials to say the same across the board? Can you fix this? Okay, so here's a question. What happens when you have various different breakpoints on each page, but you want the essentials to stay the same across the board? Well, we kind of addressed that. The essentials were on a master page. They stay the same across the board. So the header and footer that we adjusted once on the master page, no matter what I do to this content, stays the same. So if there was consistent elements that you wanted, make a new master page for those elements so they stay consistent across all other pages. Or put in the same breakpoints and then adjust the content exactly the same. But the master page would probably be the easiest. All right, so this is down to the text question. Terry, how would you do that when you don't know what the text is going to be like in a realistic scenario? There would probably be someone else that creates the text, and I don't know what the text will be that he will be writing. Then you have to wait, because if you don't know what the text is going to say, meaning you don't know how it's going to break in a weird way, then you won't be able to adjust for it until you have what the text is going to say. Because what is pigeon broke down to 2 lines, and if that was just sample text and I didn't know what it was going to say, I'd just be guessing. I wouldn't know what it's going to look like until it actually says what it's supposed to say. So there, you can work with sample text, but again, fine adjustments that you make to that sample text when you actually then put the real text of what it's going to say in will be different. So you might have to tweak it after you get the real text. Yeah, someone already said just use lorem ipsum to hold the space. Yes, there's object style controls for faster editing. There is object and paragraph styles, just like InDesign. Wait, what's Muse? Adobe Muse CC is a web design tool for non-web coders. All right. Is it a replacement for Dreamweaver? No, it is not. They address two different audiences. So, a question: do I have a best practice or video tutorial on how to use OAM, which is the file that Edge Animate creates in Muse, and also responsive, so you can show that? I don't. I don't currently. Am I going to show you how to create a site that has a blog and a shop? Not today, because those are third-party things. So go find your favorite third-party widget and integrate it into your site. I wouldn't be showing you anything that is specific to Muse. It would be specific to that plugin. Oh, not Edge Animate, Adobe Animate CC. I'm not an Animate CC person, so if someone would create the animation, make it responsive, I'd basically just be dropping it in. But he said OAM file, that is specific to Edge Animate. All right. You want to start building your portfolio? It's not been updated since 5 years. You should update it. You can use, of course, what we're doing now to make it custom, or you can use myportfolio.com, which is the new Adobe Portfolio, which is now part of Creative Cloud. Okay, so we've covered the basics. Where are we on time? We've only got like 36 minutes left. Time flies when you're having fun, but you guys get the idea. So I'm going to show you one more thing in this page. We've covered a lot here, and then we'll start the process of creating converting one of my own sites. Let's go back up to the full break. Oh, actually, let's preview this page first. Let's go back up to the full breakpoint. Preview page in browser. Okay, so here's the page we just worked on. And now we can see how responsive it is. So two things I want to point out. One, we're going to go back and do something in Muse to do with the big text headline. I'm going to show you some options. Number two, and here, let me launch Illustrator in the background while I'm waiting. I forgot I'm going to need Illustrator for this. All right, number two, there are sites that let you test your responsive design. Because all I'm doing is just kind of pulling the browser window over, and that's fine to show me what's happening to the page as I drag it over. But that's not really what happens in the real world, because in the real world, someone pulls up your site on whatever device they're on, and it looks like it looks on that site or that device. So in this case, just pulling the window over may not be enough. You may want to see what it looks like in other ways. So, for example, there is a website called responsinator.com. And here I'll put it in the chat. When you go to responsinator.com, that allows you to put in a URL for whatever site you want to go to and see what it looks like on multiple devices. So these are the devices all down here, and I can put in my site and see what it looks like. So I'll put in, let me see if I have a, no, I don't have one yet. So let's just do my blog, terrywhite.com, which is responsive. So when I go to terrywhite.com, that's what it looks like on a phone. That's what it looks like on that device, landscape. If I keep going down, I'll get smaller, bigger, bigger devices. Bigger devices show more, show the sidebar. So that's kind of one way to test things, is just look at it in a testing environment or testing site like this, because it's going to show you what it would look like on multiple devices. Now, if you are on the Mac, there's a cool way to do this with Safari. Now, my default browser is Chrome. I love Chrome. I've used Chrome for years. But of course, Safari is built into the OS. And I'm going to point something out that I didn't know they had done in Safari, which is actually pretty cool. I'm going to go to my preferences. And in my advanced preferences, I knew this feature was here. Show develop menu, or show develop menu in the menu bar. I knew that's been there for years. What I didn't know is that when you turn that on, there is a new, or I don't know how new it is, new to me, enter responsive design mode. And when you go to that, it gives you all these devices right here locally on your machine. So I could go to that site we just played with. Hopefully it'll work. Where is it here? Here. Copy that URL, which of course is only for working with it on my computer. Paste it in. And if this works, it may or may not, because I didn't choose this as my default browser. Oh, it's loading. It'll let me see it. I don't know why it's loading so slowly though, but it'll let me see it on any device I click on. Okay, here it comes. Slowly but surely, it's loading. Yeah, I never saw this before either. All right. So yeah, it's not loading everything, I think, because I didn't make this my default browser. But maybe it is still loading. I still see things popping in. But it will let me see it on the different devices and see what it looks like. Now, of course, these are Apple devices. Okay, so stuff is still coming in. But I thought that was pretty cool to be able to just quickly test it right here in Safari and see what it's going to look like, at least on the most common Apple screen sizes, which are fairly similar across the board to other platforms as well. So that is built into Safari, or you can use Responsinator, which I put in. Yeah, it shouldn't be this heavy though. It loaded it instantly in Chrome. I'm not sure why it took that long to load in Safari, but here it is. So I can see it. And even if you want to see something in between, you still have the ability to do that. You still have the ability to test it in this responsive mode. That's hot. That's pretty cool to be able to do this in Safari, especially when you're working with your mobile designs. Okay, so let's get back to, and if you set this up as your default browser, at least temporarily, I would never make this I shouldn't say never. I wouldn't make this my permanent default for now, but while I'm working on a web design, I would absolutely switch it temporarily so that every time I previewed in browser, it came right over here to this mode. So that way I wouldn't have to keep copying and pasting the URL after the fact. All right, so let's go back to Illustrator. There's a line of text here. You don't see it because it's white on a white background. But I'm going to go, I came over here to grab it because I forgot what font I used. There it is. I just wanted to see it and see the font. Oh no, my bar is pulled way up there. Okay, Sophia Pro. Okay, got it. Let's see if we copy the text, head over to the Muse, go back up to the top here, grab our text tool, drag out a nice big text frame, paste this in. Oh no, I don't want to do it that way. Let's do introducing. All right, now I really want to see what it looks like. Okay, introducing, all caps, pigeon. All right, let's go ahead and make that bigger. Nice and big. We'll make that the same font, Sophia Pro, which is a Typekit font. I don't know if it should be light, extra light, whatever, but there it is. We'll center that. We'll make it bigger yet. And we'll make it white. All right, perfect. Okay, so now we've got this great introducing pigeon text. And this is one of my frustrations with the way big text like this is handled in responsive design, at least in Muse. What's going to happen when I make this or go to a smaller breakpoint? This is what's going to happen. Okay? So I have the same decision to make. Am I okay with that break? Am I not okay with that break? If I'm not okay with that break, then I need to adjust it. And that's okay. I can adjust it. I can say, you know what? Make that smaller. I'm not okay with that break. But making it smaller here doesn't account for anything in between. Because in between that break, in between that break point, it's still going to be broken down to 2 lines. And that's what frustrates me about a headline like this, that I want it to work like a graphic. I want it to scale down like a graphic would for the headline. Or I would just have to bite the bullet and say, hey, at a certain point, this is going to have to be on 2 lines. Or I'd have to make it smaller in the beginning, or put a lot of breakpoints. So in other words, I kind of want this to behave like one big headline across that just gets smaller. And unfortunately, I can't do that with text. So let's go ahead and just get rid of it. Let's hide. Well, actually, let's just delete it. If I go to my other breakpoints, it should be gone. Yes, it's gone. Okay. All right, so what's my option? Well, if I wanted to act like a graphic, use a graphic. It's okay, because not only does Muse support text and images, it also supports SVG, scalable vector graphics. So if I go back to that Illustrator file, where I've already got the headline, trust me, it's there in white. I made it white so it would be white. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to convert it to outline so I won't run into any font issues. So we'll go to type, we'll create outlines. There it is, introducing pigeon. And I'm going to add it. I'm going to delete this one, by the way. I'm going to add it as a graphic in my Pigeon Creative Cloud library. All right, so there it is. And now when I go back to Muse, Muse also, for the first time now, has support for CC libraries. So I go to my CC libraries. There's my pigeon text. I can grab it and pull it over. And it's waiting for me to place it. Ooh, nice and big, right there. And I've got vectors. I don't have text that can be selected, but I've got nice, clean vectors for this one headline. So I can also now set that, which it already came in, responsive width and height. So now no matter what breakpoint I'm on, it scales. It goes and does the thing I want it to do. So that's one way around the problem of working with text that you want to kind of stay on one line. You don't want it to break. You don't want to keep making it smaller on every single breakpoint and everything in between. And you still want it to kind of stretch out across the whole thing. So you got both options. You can do it with text, but it's a lot easier and a lot cooler to do it for this one thing as a vector graphic. So if I preview this page in browser, it is a heavy page. Can I make the text transparent and add a stroke? Yes, I can. But now that's vector. That's a vector graphic on this page that scales. So it always looks clean, no matter what browser window or device is looking at it. So the question was asked earlier. Could well, I have to add the stroke in Illustrator, but I can certainly make it transparent here in Muse. So you have an effects control. You can make that transparent just by dragging it. What about SEO? So in this case, you'd have to put some metadata on that graphic, just like any other graphic, because it's a graphic. All right. CC Libraries is the best technology in the world for creativity. I know it makes my life a whole lot easier because I can just put things in libraries and use them everywhere. Okay. We don't really have a ton of time left to convert my site, but at least we'll start the process. So you guys got, hopefully you got a lot out of what I've shown you so far. I didn't expect this to last as long as it did, but I was able to show a lot. So now when I go to my next site, I won't have to sit there explaining as much because you've already seen it. So let's go in and let's open up another site. Pigeon is a fictitious or make-believe scooter. It's not a real thing. And we'll go to sites here. All right, so we're going to open up. Now I'm going to walk you through this again. This is unscripted, unrehearsed. I'm walking you through converting my existing photography website. Maybe I should show it to you first, kind of explain the way it works. TerryWhitePhotography.com. All right, TerryWhitePhotography.com loads with a full screen slideshow. This page was built in Muse. Several of these pages were not built in Muse. They were built in other plugins or blogs or whatever. But the home page is a Muse page, the About Me is a Muse page, and the Contact is a Muse page. Those are all Muse pages that are part of the site. Everything else was integrated, like for example, the blog is my blog, but it's a WordPress blog. That was just simply integrated into the menu. It takes you to my WordPress blog. By Prince takes you to SmugMug, so forth and so on. But what I want to do now is as we see, even though the slideshow is responsive, nothing else is. So everything else starts to collide, and I do have a tablet, phone, and desktop layout from the previous version of Muse. So if you look at this on your phone, it doesn't collide. If you look at this on your tablet, it doesn't collide, but it's not responsive either. So let's go ahead and close this. So here, let's try this. Let's put it in the Responsinator. Even though it's not responsive, it'll still show it on the other devices. So let's go. Oh, no, it won't. It won't load them. Okay, so Responsinator won't even load the mobile versions. It's still trying to load the desktop version. All right, good enough. Yeah, probably because it's not detecting it as a phone. Got it. All right, so let's go back to Muse, and let's go ahead and open that up. So it's going to do a conversion. It has to convert the old format into the new format. Sorry about the noise. It is something that we've not been able to fix in this broadcast. All right, and here come all the pages. And the first thing you would do after you open up an existing site is save it, because you converted it, which that means that asterisk up here means that it's not been saved. So I've converted this from my 11.4 version. So we're going to do save site as to TWP, and we're just going to start a new naming convention because this is Muse 2015.1. So that way I'll know what version of Muse created this particular site. Okay, so now we got the site saved, and as you can see, it's still got the tablet, phone, and desktop layouts from before. So here's the phone layout, here's the tablet layout, here's the desktop layout. And what I can decide now is to say, hey, I know phone layout, you've been helpful for me all this time, but it's time to say goodbye. So I can go in and say remove phone layout. It's gone. And then I can say tablet, remove tablet layout. It's gone. And now I'm just with the desktop layout, and I'm going to go to my site properties. And in my site properties, I'm going to say that this is no longer a fixed width site. This is a fluid width site from here on out. Click OK. And now for every new page I create, it knows that it can be fluid width. So same thing applies that we did before. I have two master pages. I don't know why I have the second one, really. I can't remember why I have the second one. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go to the first one, and I'm going to go ahead and make some changes. So first and foremost, this scroll effect is no longer relevant because scroll effects don't work in responsive, so I can delete it. Secondly, let's go into our view menu and show breakpoints. Remember I said it doesn't pop up automatically, or when you're converting the page anyway. And now I'm going to go ahead and say that this is fluid width. The page contains scroll. Yes, I know. Okay, the page contains scroll effects that are going to be gone. All right, so they're gone. And now we have this fluid width master page. And at this point, just like we did before, we decide, let's see, what is this? This is probably an ad. I think it's an ad. I'm going to go ahead and delete it for now because I'll need to go in and make a responsive version of, oh no, this is not an ad. This is Google Analytics. So I'll keep that. And this is something else. Let's see what this is. Let's see, we'll right click. Okay, that's a widget. All right. So let's go ahead and move this center, and even though it's really not an object of displays, we'll just keep it in the center for now. Okay, great. So I've got my page here. There's not a ton of work to do on this master because everything's pretty much centered. So all I need to do is get to a point to where oh wait, hang on, sorry. There are some things I need to do. I need to go here and say that this is responsive to the center now. Responsive to the center. And this menu and this bar. Let's see, this is responsive, stretch to fit the browser, that's fine. And this menu is now centered. Okay, now there should be a ton of work to do because there's not a lot of content that breaks. So we get to a point to where it's going to break right about here. So at this point, wherever this point is, it's time to decide to put in the mobile menu. Why is that not? That may not have been centered from the very beginning. Hold on. I'm just wondering why that is in a weird spot. Hold on, let's do this. Let's align these. There, see, it wasn't centered to begin with. Okay. My site's been off center all this time. All right, so now we'll go ahead and add our breakpoint. All right, so there is about the point as far as I can go with that menu. At this point, it's time to make a decision, add a breakpoint. So at this point, I no longer need this menu, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it in this breakpoint. And I no longer need this bar. I'm going to go ahead and hide this in the breakpoint as well. This bar was like a translucent color behind the menu that supposedly was going to make the menu show up better. I don't think I implemented it properly on the other design anyway. But now it's time to put in, just like we did before, a new menu that's going to work better for smaller display sizes. I saw lots of things going up here. Yes, it was a pain creating three layouts. Not creating three layouts wasn't so much as a pain because I'm doing that same kind of work now. Updating three layouts was a pain because you'd have to update the same text, the same graphics 3 times. So thank God that's gone. I can't wait to convert my sites, one of which we're doing right now. So let's go ahead and create that mobile menu. So again, and I should just have this in the library so I don't have to keep doing it from scratch. But let's go ahead and create one. We'll go ahead and create it. I don't even know where I want it, but let's put it over here for now. And we'll zoom in on it so we can see what we're doing. And again, the fill, we're going to use a lighter gray. There we go. Okay. And the same kind of thing. And you can make that with rounded corners or whatever your heart's content, or make it just a different icon. It doesn't have to be this hamburger menu. Whatever you choose to be your menu will be your menu. All right, let's then just duplicate that. And I got some alignment issues. Let's distribute the space based on the horizontal centers. Let's select it all and align them to their vertical centers. And no, I always do that wrong. No, 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 no. Don't tell me I can't undo that. I can't undo that. Oh shit, I screwed up. I always pick the wrong distribute option. Okay, we're back. All right, design your menu to look better. And again, the main thing I want to do is make sure it's not on responsive width or not doing any kind of weird resizing. So that I always forget to do, but I remember this time. And of course, we can group it together so I don't have to keep selecting them separately. And now, of course, we'll put that accordion menu in. So I want to go to my widget library, grab an accordion panel, pull it over, put it right there. And we'll strip out everything that's in it. So clear all widget contents, which brings it from 3 states to 1. And clear all styling, which clears all out the colors and all that other weird stuff that was in it. You can make it bigger. That text is still there, that sample text, which I don't know if it actually displays or not, but let's get rid of it. All right, so now we've got the widget in place. We need to put a menu in it and then add an option to the widget. So the first option we're going to add is that it can close all. And I actually want it to overlap things. I don't want it to push content down. Okay, so now we got that in place. Let's go in and add the actual menu. We'll add the vertical menu in place. It knows about all the pages, so it will add the pages. There's one caveat though, and I'll explain it in a second. Let's get this designed the way we want and put it where we want. Let's put it up here. I don't like the font. I don't like the size, maybe. Actually, the size, I do want to be bigger. Because you got to remember, this is going to be for the smaller displays, which are likely going to be touch enabled. So we want these menu buttons to be big enough to be finger friendly. And of course, you could put real buttons in there if you wanted to. All right, so yeah, let's just really bring that down. Okay, next, we just need to size this over, the whole widget. And then we need to make a better font choice. So I just keep clicking, double clicking until I get all the way down to the text and anything but Georgia. All right, I don't know what I've used before on this site. Probably if I use a style sheet, that would help. Keep it simple for now, and I might come back and change it. Okay. Now, the other thing is, do I want that gray color behind it? In this particular case, it does not bother me as much as it would, but I can drill down to one of the buttons and I can change the fill color to a different color. So let's use, yeah, that looks better. Okay, we'll use that color. All right, so now, last but not least, okay, we got it together there, and we want to also say that this gets removed from all other breakpoints. And I think I did that. No, I didn't do that yet on this one. Hide in other breakpoints. Good. So that means it's only in this breakpoint and any new breakpoints I create going forward. Okay, we've got our menu in place. Now we can, and hang on, let's also make it responsive to the right side. Same thing here. And when you put your accordion over whatever your graphic is going to be for your menu, put it over it and don't put the graphic on top of it, because the graphic doesn't do anything. So people will be tapping the menu and nothing will happen till they tap the side of the menu. So that's why I always put the accordion on top. Because the graphic is just a representation of it. It could be the word menu, it could be anything. Okay, so now we've got that in place, and now we can keep going. And at this point, you know what? I'm also not liking the way that logo starts to collide with that even here. So let's fix that. Let's put that here, and let's put that here as well. And we're going to move these over. Okay, so in this breakpoint, it looks like this. In this breakpoint, it looks like that. And now we can go ahead and start moving this around. And you know what? Why wait? Why? I already see what's going to happen, so why wait for it? Let's just move this over and up. That will mean I'll have less breakpoints to create, because they're going to collide eventually, so why not take care of it now? If it's not a design requirement that they be on the same line. Okay, so now we got that. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going. And it looks like we can go all the way down to 320. So we'll just right click, add breakpoint at 320, and we're good to go. Okay, so again, that was a simple master page to convert, because there's not a lot on it that collides or runs into other things. And again, as we saw before, I've only got like 6 minutes left. Let's preview this page. All right. My good friend Beetlejuice is up after me in 6 minutes, and he's going to be probably talking about something audio or video related. All right, so here we are. And like I said, that was, I don't know why that didn't move. I got to check on that. But everything else works fine. Okay, let's go back and look at that Terry photography. Ah, that's why, because it's set to be a line. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's put it back in the center. Oh, that's just a fluke, actually. All right, so maybe I want to make that left justified. We'll see what happens here. Tough call. Let me see what happens if I make it left. Yeah, see, I don't want it doing that. So let's keep it in the center. All right. In this breakpoint. Okay. All right. So now that we got the master page set, it would be a matter of going to this first page. There's 3 pages in this site that are Muse pages. that need to be adjusted. This is one of them. And so again, at this point, the page is now set to fluid, as I just right-clicked on it and told it that it was, and I already see problems right off the bat. So it's not so much up here. Up here is fine. It's really about the social media icons down here at the bottom. So this was always designed to be a wider page. So it was designed originally like that, so all that stuff at the bottom was okay. But now that we're going with a responsive design, it's not okay. So what I want to do is fix it now. So let's just go ahead and just move some of this stuff. This is, again, pretty easy to fix. This is my my Twitter widget, my Facebook widget, and all my other social media icons. Oh, good, they're already grouped together. And let's pick those up and put them in the center. So once again, we'll make that responsive center. We'll make this responsive center. And while we're at it, we'll make that responsive center. And then we'll put these items where they go. How many of these did I have? Oh, I had more than one, that's why. I had a follow button, I had a like button, I had a Twitter button, and then my social media icon buttons. Well, this won't really matter, the slide shows full screen, so it doesn't really have to show down here. All right, so now we're good in this first breakpoint. Everything is sort of aligned center, although it doesn't look like it is. It's because these are different size frames. Pull out a ruler guide and kind of size this. Two minutes left. And let's put this in place. All right, and within my last 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, just go ahead and pull this in, pull this in, pull this in, pull this in until it breaks. Now again, I don't have to worry about the menu or anything. Sorry about that. I have to worry about the menu or the footer because that's already taken care of on the master page. It's really just about these social media icons. And they're going to break probably right about, oh, I already went too far, right about here. So at this point, it's now time to decide what happens with those icons because that's as far wide as they can go. Now keep in mind, they're all grouped together. So I can either ungroup them and move them around or just keep clicking until I get to them individually and move them around. And so I would just basically restack them in this breakpoint to where they're on 2 rows instead of 1. I still want them to be nice and big and finger friendly. And in my last minute, before we turn it over to Jason, we'll preview this real quick, and then we'll let Jason have it. Oh, Pinterest might have to go in this breakpoint. It's going to make it odd. All right, we'll leave Pinterest. Oh, we'll shift them all over again so that they're centered under each other. But let's preview page and browser, then we'll hand it over to Jason. And thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for following. Thanks for all the comments and likes and interaction in the browser, or I'm sorry, in the chat. But here's the new responsive version, which needs some work. That stuff needs to be pulled down. But there it is. And as soon as that stuff breaks, it switches over to the mobile menu. The icons realign themselves as I did them quickly. And now all I gotta do is just go adjust and pull that stuff down. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Jason, take it away, Beetlejuice.